Today's topic, cybersecurity awareness in time of telework. My name is Maya Cordero. I'm the Director of Marketing and Events here at the Boulder Chamber, and I'm so pleased you're joining us, so thank you. In today's program, we're going to share with you some COVID-19 business resources. And for today's topic, we're going to have three experts talking about cybersecurity awareness and also secure collaboration. And of course, at the end, we'll have a Q&A section. So make sure to please submit your questions via the Q&A feature. Before we dive into the program, we want to make sure that you go to our website, our COVID-19 community and business resources page. You can go by going boulderchamber.com/COVID-19. In there, we have gathered all the resources that you and your business will need to navigate this COVID situation. And also, if you haven't yet, please join us at our Boulder Area United Business Response Group in Facebook. It is open to members and non-members, and you can post information on how to communicate and how the community can access your products and services. So please join us. In our panel for today, we have Mike Kimiecik. He is the MCM CISSP and Global Head of Verizon Cyber Risk Programs. We also have Adam Torgerson, Director of Cloud Services Department at Compudyne, and Trent, Hein, co-CEO at Rule 4. So for today's topic, we're going to start with Mike. So Mike and everyone, thank you for being here. And Mike, will you take it over?
Well, I thank you. First off, thanks for having us join today. And let me go ahead and start sharing things. We've got a lot to talk about in a short amount of time. I think each panelist could tell you we could each talk about this subject for hours. So let's go ahead and get going. And first off, just so you can put a name to a face, thought I'd bring up my LinkedIn profile. So afterwards, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can reach out to me there. But I will also provide a deck afterwards to the Chamber of Commerce. Then they can send that out to everyone that will show everything that I talked about today, and along with our recommendations and guidelines, etc. So what I want to do today is I just want to talk about what we're doing at Verizon to protect ourselves, our employees, as well as our customers, and anyone else, even non-customers. We're trying to help everyone because we're all in this COVID-19 pandemic together. So first off, at Verizon, we have a page dedicated specifically to everything we're doing around COVID-19. It's what we call our Verizon Response to COVID-19 page. On this page, the links here, and again, I will be providing links for all these websites that I show you today. But I just wanted to run through them so you could see that this information is available for everyone today. It talks about what we're doing for consumers, businesses, what we're doing on our network, what we're doing around public safety and education, and things that we're doing for our employees as well. So again, this is something that's impacting everybody, everyone's business, their family, their friends. So we're trying to make sure that we're providing information around everything that we can for everyone. Verizon's doing, in my view, a fantastic job. We have a daily, we have our own little YouTube channel called VZ Web, and our president and CEO is providing live updates every day for us. He's got other speakers from executive management from other areas of the business on there every day to keep the entire business up to date on what's happening around our business and with our customers. This is just an internal page, just so you can see some of the things that they've done for us. A lot of information around COVID-19 resources, information for everyone, customers as well as employees, business partners, etc. One of the big things that we're doing is really helping our customers. There's a lot of things that we can do to help you protect your businesses, protect your employees, help you identify those things that you should be doing to help yourself and your business and your employees. We have a lot of information, and again, I'll be sending this out, but I just want you to see all the different things that we have available to assist you in this time of need for everyone. And one of the big concerns we have is around mobile security, because everyone is now working remotely. So we have remote workers, teleworkers, et cetera. And there's a lot of things that need to be done to ensure that that's being done securely so that it doesn't negatively impact your business or your employees. We have a lot of security products, services, and solutions. And again, this is not a sales presentation. I'm just trying to show you some of the things that we have available for you. And again, we'll provide this so you can look through everything at your leisure. But there are some things that I really did want to go over. And one of the big things is how you can help protect yourself and your organization from phishing and malware attacks, which are targeting remote workers today. That is one of the biggest things we're seeing. So we have a lot of information available. I'm going to show you something else that we've sent out to our customers around what they should be doing. But again, you can find a lot of this on this site itself. Again, I'll provide this link so you can look at it at your leisure. There's a lot of things that you can download, some tips, some checklists, etc. But some of the things we're talking about is just taking care of the basics. One of the big concerns we have is in the rush to set up remote workers and teleworking, that a lot of organizations have kind of circumvented their typical security controls, the things that they have in place to ensure that they are secure and not vulnerable to malware, ransomware, phishing attacks, etc. So one of the things that we're suggesting is make sure that you don't compromise your standard security controls in the rush to get everybody set up. In a lot of cases, most people are set up now. We know there was a big ramp up that happened a few weeks ago. But now we also know that a lot of people did that by taking shortcuts. So what we're recommending is make sure that you're securing all those access points, including those mobile devices. Ramping up your training, particularly security awareness training for your employees, so that they know how to recognize phishing emails, smishing, all those various things that cause businesses a great deal of pain today. And that's really important right now because we know a lot of organizations, when they had to go to remote workers, didn't have the resources. So a lot of their employees are using their own devices, or what we refer to as BYOD, bring your own device. And they're using those to connect up to your networks and infrastructure. So ensure that you've got a BYOD policy in place that enforces some controls on them as well, whether it's a corporate device they're using to access remotely. And we recommend if they've got one to use that versus their own personal device. But again, there was a huge rush, and we know that there were a lot of things done that people had to do in a short amount of time, and may have skipped a few things that they normally wouldn't have. So this is a very important page, which is why I'm spending a little bit more time on this page with you, because these are things that we really strongly suggest every organization do. In some cases, you can't do them for whatever reason, but there are other controls that can be put in place, some compensating controls to help out in cases like this. And again, we have a lot of different links to other things that can help you in setting all this up. And you can see that the financial impact of reported cybercrime was over 2.7 billion in 2018. So it is one of those times that the bad actors, as we call them, really like right now. Because there was a rush to do things, they know that there's a lot of opportunity for them to take advantage of organizations and people that are not used to working remotely, organizations that are not used to having remote workforces. So again, there's a lot of good information out there. I'm going to touch on a few other ones here just so you can see what those are. The Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report, that's a free download for everyone. As a matter of fact, our 2020 version will be coming out next month. But in there, it talks about all the things that are happening, what the bad actors are doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, etc. And the programs that I run actually do risk assessments for organizations against those findings to help you identify where you may be at risk to those types of attacks. We also, if you have PCI or payment card industry requirements, we have our security report up there available for you as well to look at. Oops. Trying to get to some of these things here. The header for the, bring it down here. There we go. We have a mobile security index, but one of the other things I really wanted to talk about was some of these other sites. The Center for Internet Security is a fantastic site for every organization, regardless of what size your business is, how large it is, how many people you have. It provides a great deal of information, and this is all free information. For those of you not in the cybersecurity field, one of the interesting things about the cybersecurity field is there's a lot of competition, but we're actually working together. There's a lot of partnerships that's done between cybersecurity organizations around cybersecurity and helping organizations and businesses. And the Center for Internet Security is one great place that if you've never been to, and again, I'll provide this link as well, but they have great information on what you can do to help teleworkers improve their cyber defense. And you can see there's a lot of things, and you'll see some similarities between what we have at Verizon and our recommendations and what they have, because we actually do a lot of work with CIS as well. We, in a lot of our cybersecurity assessments, we assess against what they call CIS controls. So there's a lot of good information from a lot of different organizations out there today around this topic. So I just wanted to touch on those. A few other ones, oops, wrong thing there. So this is from Department of Homeland Defense. They have put out teleworking guidance as well. So hopefully that's some good information. SANS, another great resource for you. And then, of course, there's the World Health Organization and CDC for individuals. Now, one other thing I wanted to...
Mike, I don't think we're seeing your screen at this time.
Oh, I wonder what happened. Well, let me get back to this and reshare it. Don't know what happened there.
Stop sharing. Let's see. Try sharing again.
Yeah, let's see. Alrighty, let me find that right screen again. Okay, hopefully you're seeing that again. So again, this was just some additional. Can you see my screen again?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I was just pointing out a couple of sites that have a lot of information regarding COVID-19 around health and things you should be doing for your employees. So one of the other things I did want to share, and I know I don't have a whole lot of time, but one of the things we know a lot of organizations are doing is things just like this, using Zoom and other WebEx or conferencing and collaboration and sharing type things. But there are some concerns with those. This is something that we put out. This is our Verizon threat and intelligence team has put this out. There is a threat advisory regarding using Zoom communications and what the purpose of this advisory is. And I'll include this in the package that I send out so everybody will have this as well. But there is some Zoom related threats and risks that are out there. I don't know if you've seen on the news, but there have been instances of people essentially crashing ongoing Zoom sessions just because they were able to get into it. So this particular bulletin and advisory gives configuration tips on how to set it up, how to ensure only the people you want are on a particular Zoom session, and how to manage that. So this is some good guidance that I will put out with the information later today as well. And then the final thing I wanted to show, and hopefully you can see that, this is a notification that we put out to all our all our customers. And you'll see that this mirrors a lot of the information that I've already shown you. We're actually getting ready to put out an update. We'll probably be putting out an update to this later this week because we know some of the threat and risk vectors have changed a little bit now because organizations have taken steps and put a lot of security controls back in place now. But we are monitoring and seeing other things. So we're going to put out some additional guidance. So those links that I provide you, I would recommend that you check those fairly regularly to make sure that you are staying up to date on the activities that may be impacting you and your business. Again, I'm not going to read this. I'm just slowly scrolling so you can see some of the things that are in here. And you will get a copy of this. I will put this out as part of the package that's going to be provided to everyone. And again, if you need help there's plenty of help. Reach out to me, reach out to any of the other folks that'll be speaking today, Trent or Adam. We're all here to help you ensure that you, your employee, and your businesses stay safe. Okay, I think I've run right up to my 15-minute limit.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. That was great information, great overview of everything you guys are doing. And we'll make sure to share all that with all the participants today. Now, we're going to continue. Yeah, we're going to continue with Adam Torgerson. Adam with Compudyne.
Hi, thanks, Mike. Just going to pull up my screen here. And go to presentation. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Torgerson from Compudyne. I'm a director of our cloud services, but also chair our information security governance team at Compudyne. Probably like 25 years of experience in IT, a lot of that been in security. Just a little bit about Compudyne. We've been in the IT service industry or service provider for 30 years. We're in Boulder. We're all throughout Michigan, the UP of Michigan and all over Minnesota. A bit about us, we have core pillars. We do end-to-end network. We have a cloud out of data centers. We're a typical managed service provider. And of course, we offer the professional services. And as you can see, security is in the middle there. It runs across all parts of the organization. There's no silver bullet with it. You know, it's all the way from the administrative to the logical, technical controls, and even into the physical controls. Just a little bit about what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to go into the awareness of phishing, a lot of what Mike was talking about there, how they're getting done, who's targeted, a little bit about the bad actors, and I'm going to go over some recent examples here with the COVID-19. And then I'll talk a little bit about security hardening, you know, business with remote workers or even in the home and just for personal use, you know, your own bank accounts and everything personal. So just on the phishing, actually this is from Verizon. And it's a little old, but you know, I'm sure these numbers have increased quite a bit, at least the money-wise. But you know, the average cost of a data breach is $3.86 million, and the majority of breaches, 70% of them, are associated with phishing emails. It's the the human, it's the administrative piece, it's the training to get in there, and then 92% of malware is delivered via those phishing emails. 58% of the victims are categorized as small businesses. And 68% of the breaches took months or longer to discover. And why that's important is that bad actor gets an environment, it gives them time to start scoping around and penetrate deeper into the network. You know, they're looking to get to that sweet spot where they can, you know, maybe apply some ransomware and then extort the company for money. So phishing, I think we all know what it is, but I'll just go over it. There's a bad actor out there, or groups of them, and there's the fraudulent practice of sending emails claiming to be from a reputable company or person, and they're trying to get the person, the end user, to reveal personal information. You know, primarily their password or hopefully credit card information. Right, that was quickly done there. So who are these bad actors? Well, they're everywhere, right? Anywhere around the globe. And why are they targeting people? I mean, they want money, and it's obviously illegal, but that's why they do it. And it's, to them, it's an easy way to get money, and it's easy to get from people or especially businesses. So how widespread is this? Last year, 2019, in the US, 3.5 billion related to phishing schemes, and that's according to the IC3. So the IC3 gathers information from around the world of people who are looking, that report in, that are looking to extort money from businesses or people. And as they target everyone, the amount of reports that they received was 467,000 complaints, and that's nearly like 1,300 a day. The most frequent complaints that reported were phishing and similar ploys, such as non-payment, non-delivery scams, extortion. The financially costly complaints involve business email compromise. Of course, there's like the romance and confidence fraud, spoofing, mimicking the person. So it's if somebody gets like a Facebook account or something, pretends they're you, and again, there's all they're after is financial information, or try to get financial info and get money. So the big thing about this is that these criminals are getting super sophisticated, and it's getting harder and harder for victims to spot red flags to tell what's real and fake. So that's why I want to go over some recent examples here. This one here as early as January 31st. Bad actors were posing as the CDC, and what they wanted people to do is click on that link, which was going to lead them to a site to enter information. Here's another one too, just getting into the workplace. This is just an example, but they're pretending to be human resources, sending out some sort of precautionary policy for people to click on, which leads them down something to enter some sort of personal information. This one here, very interesting. This week, and here's I'll get in a little bit more into example. People's been getting their stimulus check. You can see here's one that might have been a couple that would get $2,400. And what they're trying to do is have people click on that link, and this looks pretty real here, right? A couple things to see, that if you hover over that here link, it has a site that's not going to, it's going to Google Docs, and whatever that might be. And then you can see it's not from American Express if you look up at the top where it says it's sale at delivery. So we're getting a little more here what to look for. And so recognizing and avoiding phishing emails. These are the main points I came up with here. It's, beware of online requests of personal information. Again, they're taking advantage of the coronavirus themed emails that seek out the personal information, whether it's social security numbers and login information. So the main thing with that is, never respond to the email with any personal data. I just don't respond to it at all. Check the email link. Again, you can hover over it. What to do is, if it looks fake, just delete it. If you think it's real, you have some sort of association with that person or that business. You can call them or go directly to their website and log in, but definitely not through the email. Grammatical errors are often an indicator, although the bad actors are getting really good at that, and they're well written these days. Again, look for generic greetings. If I get an email from my bank, they're calling out my name. Hey, Adam Torgerson, not dear sir or madam. They know who I am, or it just says, hey Adam. It doesn't have a generic one. And then obviously avoid anything that's telling you like stuff is urgent and to act now. These next slides as we're all working from home these days, this is kind of from like a business perspective, security hardening and remote work. What's changed? As Mike said, a lot of people have done a lot of changes in the recent few weeks here. But again, a lot of things were kind of lost along the way. It's just like people are trying to ramp up VPNs and other ways to connect to the network and enable people to work from home. But this is also the same time that the bad actors are out there, and they're on top of this, trying to exploit the situation. So some things organizations can do is update their training materials. And what I mean by that is this is the time to, what I'm showing here, what we're all demonstrating today is train the people working at home to be looking out for these types of emails and phishing lures. Good time to update information security policies. You know, do you have a work from home or remote access policy? What's the recommended way? You know, should everyone be using VPNs or, you know, ideally virtual desktops? Are people allowed to use their home devices to connect to your network? That's something to look at too, and I'll discuss that a little bit more here. So we do recommend using VPNs. We also recommend using multi-factor authentication, which I talk about in a slide coming up here. It's one of the easiest ways to help mitigate phishing exploitations. If a bad actor does get your credentials and they try to log into your account, you're going to get a notification on your phone or whatever it might be, and you're like, well, I didn't try to log into my account just now. So organizations should also ensure that devices are auto updated, so you're getting the most recent patching, and then to the whole Zoom thing, you should use your corporate webinar, whether that's WebEx, it might be Zoom. We're using Zoom here, and again, if it's configured appropriately, the security risk goes down greatly. So how about your home network? Everyone's working from home. You know, do you have passwords on your home Wi-Fi? You know, do you have other family using it? Right now is a great opportunity for hackers and phishers, especially because people are busy. They're with their children and pets, health concerns, finances. It's a whole different environment that we're working in. You know, so it's understandably that data security is not at the top of people's minds. And here's some things to think about. We all have our home devices, our home networks. It's not provided from the corporate. You know, do we have like a strong encryption enabled and a strong password enabled at home? Are we ensuring that we use our corporate device with a VPN to connect to the corporate network, and we're not using our personal device? You know, again, same thing. You should be using that personal device just for fun. That personal device is not going to be as well protected in most situations as your corporate device. If you go and install a VPN on your personal device and it has some malware on it, now that enables an option for that to spread into your corporate network. Again, block your corporate computer when away. When someone's had young kids and they might go start typing away on it, open up website because mom and dad's computer's cooler than their tablet or phone or whatever it is. and then Internet of Things. They're usually not patched, they're usually not secure. This could be your Ring doorbell, your garage door opener, whatever it is. Homes are really Wi-Fi enabled these days. If at all possible, and you have the expertise or know someone with the expertise, try to isolate those from your home network. So I guess in conclusion here, the top things I'm hitting on is, you know, have some sort of security and awareness training program. You know, this is something Compudyne offers. You know, it's really the educational piece. It's the administrative piece. You can't really necessarily put technology in place for people to identify a phishing email. You can have a spam filter in there, but if it's a spear phish or someone's emailing you directly, it's still going to get through there. And again, have routine internal phishing campaigns and training on how to identify new threats, just like this with the COVID-19. And another big one, again, is the multi-factor authentication. I guess you treat this the same way you treat your bank accounts. You know, if you log into your bank account, they're forcing you these days. You can't just put in a password. You need to have a second something, whether it's something that no, have, or are, that's going to say, hey, this is me. I can log into this device. Some of the nicer ones today enable push technology. So it makes it really easy, and it's not always a super pain to go and like, oh, I got to look up these numbers and type them in. And it often fulfills regulatory compliance as well. So this is my last slide. Again, where to start. It's just a kind of a overall here, just in the future, you know, I always have to plan for these things, what's going to come up, you know, develop some sort of security budget if organizations weren't ready, or even if you weren't ready for this at home, just plan ahead. The cybersecurity thing's not going away. Again, update or add additional information security policies and disseminate that. Have a security awareness and training program. Apply multi-factor authentication. And again, like internally have do internal and external vulnerability scans, because when someone's in your organization and you don't have a very strong and secure internal network, it's pretty easy for them to go around and exploit the whole network, and maybe even like close up shop for a while by putting some sort of ransomware on there. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Adam. Yeah, thank you for that great presentation. I appreciate it. Okay, so then we're going to continue with Trent with Rule 4. Hi, Trent.
Hey, how's it going?
Good,
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I thought it would be fun. Here, we'll see if we can make the PowerPoint work. Perfect. Can you guys see that slide okay?
I think so, yes.
Great. I thought it would be fun to talk a little bit about, you know, how do we use security as a force for good, and do a little more secure collaboration in these unusual times. Definitely Adam and Mike covered some incredibly important and quite honestly scary stuff that we all need to be aware of, but you know, there's also some good sides to this. I think there even might be a silver lining. One of the things that we've seen, as you guys probably have all experienced, is that this current situation has really pushed the boundaries and the limits of collaboration technology, and companies have responded with that. And so that's incredible in the sense that we have better tools today than we had even 4 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago. And we want to make sure like we're using this as our opportunity to empower folks and definitely balance and manage risk, and support the business. One of the things that I think is good to have in our heads is like, okay, if we're going to do remote collaboration, whether it's folks working from home or it's working with customers or clients across the network, what are those things we need to have in place? And I thought it'd be fun to throw out a top 5 list. And my number 1 item actually is not a technology issue, but rather more of a cultural philosophy, is that in these times where we need collaboration and users need collaboration to do their job, we as leaders and technologists should be leaning towards user enablement. We want to say can do, because if we say no way, if we're like, yeah, you can't use that tool, or you're not allowed to do that remotely, users will find a way to do it, and chances are if they find their own way to do it, they're going to do it insecurely. So let's be those folks who are like, hey, here's some secure ways to do it. You know, one of the threads that you probably heard from Mike and from Adam, and now you're going to hear from me, is multi-factor authentication. I cannot emphasize that enough as incredibly important for any type of remote access across the internet today. We're past the era of just username, password. We need to have username and password and then something you have or something you are, so that we have that extra factor. And that's going to protect us from a lot of those scams like the phishing that Mike talked about. When we talk about users working at home, I think it's just a good reminder that whether they're using a corporate provided resource or they are using their personal devices, we really need to make sure they have some type of antivirus, anti-malware platform. You know, I've been working with my clients recently, and in some cases, we can extend the corporate platform to their home, or whether it's their personal device or a corporate device, or in other cases where we couldn't do that quickly, give them a stipend, give them an allowance to make sure they have current antivirus. It's that important. We also need to make sure that they are patching, applying updates to all of their devices, including those apps, everything from business-related apps like Adobe to maybe less business, but more user comfort apps like Spotify. Let's make sure those have the most current version. And then this last bullet, I hate to say it as a technologist and as a cybersecurity guy, is like we say data classification, but what we really mean is we got to teach users what is it that they need to protect, right? What are those sensitive files, those files that may contain credit card information or folks' home addresses or social security numbers. We need to make sure all of our users understand what it is they have to protect and how they should protect it. My experience is if we tell folks that and they understand it clearly, they're going to always try to do what's right. I often say we should empower folks with the most awesome tools, and if we do that, they're going to be more productive, they're going to be more secure, and they're not going to find ways around the system. So what are some of the do's and don'ts about secure collaboration? Well, we absolutely should use some type of secure file sharing platform to share files, ideas, and data. And let's make sure that we all agree what that is and that we communicate that to our users. One of the things I've really been telling folks these last couple of weeks is please, please, please don't send sensitive data in email. Email is not a secure medium for transmission, and I think we all get in a habit of it's super convenient, like, oh, I'll just attach this spreadsheet with 100,000 records in it. But that actually presents a lot of risk to most enterprises. And so what we'd rather do is provide folks with tools, whether it's OneDrive or Google Drive or Box or Dropbox, I don't care, pick your favorite secure file sharing platform, teach users to use those rather than emails. We just talked about educating users, and that is core, and that may come in many forms. We may offer some type of Zoom meeting like this where we can talk to them about it, or we may have to meet with people one-on-one, but we want to make sure folks understand what it is. Remote support is interesting. That's one of the things I think many organizations weren't quite prepared for. Few folks have been used to working at home, maybe a few days a week, or maybe they work at home all the time. But to have entire workforces working from home is a little bit of a different IT support scenario than a lot of organizations were familiar with. And I think now is the time to make sure that we enable our IT support folks with remote tools so that they can shadow the user on their system, point out, click on this button, do this here, drag this file here, and that helps the user feel empowered and supported, right? And it's super efficient for everybody. We'll talk about don'ts here in a minute specifically to Zoom, but I do want to point out generally, the other thing that we don't like to use for sharing sensitive data is video conferencing. I know Zoom's got a lot of press lately. We're using Zoom here today, but the reality is the first thing I tell folks is you should not send sensitive data, like let's say you have nuclear missile launch codes, you should not send those to your buddy across the country in any type of video conferencing platform, Zoom or GoToMeeting or WebEx or Google Hangouts. None of those are appropriate for sensitive data sharing, and that has nothing to do with Zoom. But that's the first rule of video conferencing. I'll again call out multi-factor authentication, and I specifically want to call out payroll. So Adam did a great job of talking about some of the phishing attacks. People look to get individual credentials. One of the things we've seen here, especially in Colorado in the last few months, is a rash of paycheck diversion, where if you can log in and change where your paycheck gets direct deposited, if they steal those credentials and it's not multi-factor authenticated, suddenly your paycheck is going to their account, and that's a mess. We don't want that. So please make sure that your payroll provider and your payroll administrators are using multi-factor authentication. All right, the million-dollar question of the last week has been, is it okay to use Zoom? And here's my take on this. First off, I'll say any tool can be misused, right? It's like we could use Zoom inappropriately, and a number of people have, and unfortunately, those are some of the stories that have made it into mainstream media. We just talked about not sharing highly sensitive data in any video conferencing platform. That's nothing to do with Zoom. If you are going to use Zoom, here's things that I would keep in mind. They have updated their application multiple times in the last few weeks, and they've made huge leaps and bounds improvements in the security of their platform. So make sure you're running the most current version. Don't post meeting links in public. Like if you post a link to a meeting in some type of public forum like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, yes, people will join that meeting, and that may not be all the people you want in your meeting. And that also is not unique to Zoom. If you're going to have a meeting, find some secure way to share it or send it just to the specific attendees. Zoom has this feature called Personal Meeting ID. That's a standing meeting ID that you can just join at any time. Because that meeting ID never changes, I would suggest not using that. Zoom also supports the host can enable a password for meetings. I would suggest doing that. In fact, I believe that that is now their default as of a couple weeks ago. You can lock the meeting after the meeting starts so that others can't join. You end up with a bunch of random people in your meeting, and I think that's a good practice, especially for large meetings. And then you can require that attendees be admitted through the waiting room so that you can select who actually ends up in the meeting. If you do all these things, it's probably a reasonable platform to use for communications. I'll emphasize that anything comes with risk, and so we're doing a risk balancing or a risk acceptance exercise anytime we use any collaboration tool. But I think with these controls in place, Zoom can be reasonably used. The other thing I wanted to point out is that in this time of collaboration, there's a lot of cool platforms that we should be considering and empowering our users with other than just teleconferencing. Over on the far left, if you haven't heard of it, there's this whole set of tools around micro bonuses. You probably read in the news here these last few weeks as more and more people are working at home, they feel disconnected. And one of the things they most yearn for is positive feedback. Like even though I'm working from home, and I don't see my coworkers or my boss every day, I want folks to recognize what I'm doing and I'm doing good stuff. Well, there's some just awesome online micro bonus platforms, and I've included some in the box here that are worth checking out. And they're very inexpensive, they're easy to deploy, you can deploy them in a few minutes, and it gives the whole company or it gives your management team a way to easily give folks micro bonuses. They might be 10-cent bonuses or they might be 50-cent bonuses. It's not the dollars that count, it's the recognition. And so that's an awesome tool to consider now. Instant messaging and chat, if you're not already using it, there's some fantastic secure platforms out there where folks can stay in touch real time and work as a team together online. We talked a little bit about file sharing. A number of great tools out there. You may pick your tool that most fits your technology platform. Like if you're a Google G Suite using company, maybe you'll use Google Drive. Or if you're an Office 365 using company, maybe use OneDrive. Or if neither of those, maybe pick one of these other options. But as I said earlier, I think it's important to pick one and help your users understand how to utilize it to securely share files. Talked a lot about video conferencing, so I'll skip over that. Brainstorming and whiteboarding. I think that's one of the things that we often hear from folks that they are challenged. How do we do that in a work from home situation or a remote work situation such that it feels like we're there? And actually, technologists have come to our rescue again. There's some fantastic brainstorming and whiteboarding tools. I listed just a few here that I encourage you to check out. A lot of those have free 30-day trials if you just want to give it a try with your team and see if it helps work together as if you were sitting in a conference room together. And then finally, in the lower right, I'll talk about the Kanban space. So this is like team task management. We know as a team, we've got a number of goals or tasks that we need to complete this week or this month. And how do we manage those in a way that everyone can see them, everyone knows current status, we can prioritize them, we can move them to different states. There's a bunch of different tools that provide various functionality in this space, and I definitely would also encourage deploying that with your team so that they can collaborate securely there. These are just some ideas. I'm sure there's a lot of other tools in all of these spaces that are also awesome, but I wanted to give you some starting points to take a look at. So that's what I brought for slides. My core message is let's use this unusual time to empower our users so that they can collaborate securely, that we can all have fun and be safe. And I'm always happy to answer questions about any of this, and I'll turn it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Trent. Really good presentation. Thanks so much. Let's see. All right, so I think at this time, we're gonna go ahead and open it for questions. So if we have any questions, let me see. Let me open here. Okay, doesn't sound like we have any questions right now. So if any participant here has a question, this is the time to add it there. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much to our panel today. Let's see, am I sharing this correctly? I don't think so. Let's try that. Okay, there we go. I just want to say thank you to our panel again, Mike Kimiecik with Verizon, Adam Torgerson, and Trent Hein with Rule 4, and Adam with Compudyne. Thank you, the three of you, for coming today. It seems like we do have one question. Let's see. What do you think of Jump Cloud for Google Security? Any of our panel would like to answer that one? So what do you think of Jump Cloud for Google Security? Any thoughts on that?
I'd be happy to take that. This is Trent. I'm a huge Jump Cloud advocate. We use it at Rule 4 and we use it at a number of different clients. You know, it's a great alternative for centralized authentication. Recently they've added functionality to support multi-factor authentication as well. So definitely, you know, it's a local Boulder company. I think that's fair to point out as well, but just a fantastic product, and I've had really good luck with it, and users like it.
Yeah, this is Mike Kimiecik. Yeah, I mean, it is a good service. I kind of want to echo what Trent's saying there. It is a good, viable service and alternative. But again, with anything, you know, and Trent said it as well, you know, anything comes with risk. Just make sure you understand what security controls are in place and see if there's, and ensure that you are also implementing and following your own security policies and controls as well.
Wonderful. We have one more question. This one is coming from the nonprofit sector, and it says, we're a small 6-staff nonprofit and need some antivirus, etc., protection for our staff personnel mobile devices that they use for work. Any recommendations?
Yes, Mike, I'll bite. Yeah, so there's a lot of things out there, particularly for small organizations and small nonprofits. There's some good antivirus type vendors that you know, for example, Lookout for Mobile is one that I personally use, and we use within Verizon as well. So that's one of the good ones out there that's are available, and they've got, you know, different levels of service. But there's a lot of different things, so you kind of need a little bit more understanding about what type of mobile devices you have, what you're accessing, you know, what you're using those for. You know, if the mobile devices are accessing, you know, highly critical data and systems, you may want to make sure you're using something that really is strong. Like Trent, you know, mentioned, and Adam mentioned, and I mentioned, and make sure you've got, you know, the proper authentication and security controls for any tool that you're using, if you're using mobile devices for access of those types of systems. I don't know if Adam or Trent had any other comments or suggestions.
Yeah, I think it is. I agree with you, Mike. I think we'd need to know a little bit more about the devices and the environment. Unfortunately, this is one space where I don't know that there's a one-size-fits-all answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. All right. We have another question here. What is the panel's opinion on using virtual private networks like Norton VPN?
Yeah, strong proponent for VPNs. You know, I use one, you know, both for work, and I actually use one on my home and personal devices as well. Again, there's a lot of options out there, and you know, I try not to say this one's better than that one without, you know, going through the entire process of actually doing true evaluations. But there are sites out there that will do evaluations and provide guidance on, you know, particularly, you know, smaller VPN and home and personal use VPNs. CNET, for example, is one of those sites that does provide a lot of evaluation information on those types of services. But yeah, Nord is one that I see fairly common. like I said, there's quite a few of them. I use a variety of different ones myself. Some work better than others in different locations for me. I do a lot of, normally I do a lot of traveling internationally, and I find that some work better in some locations than others.
Great. Any thoughts, Adam, from Compudyne?
Yeah, I do. So yeah, Nord's good. We have some clients that use that. I think one thing when it comes to VPNs, there's free ones out there. One of the issues with the free ones is that it's not supported, or there's a chance to have like security problems with them. I think they don't cost much, but it's always worth investing a little bit to get one for a business, one that costs some. And I know a lot of the companies out there are offering it free during this COVID-19 right now as well. I think Cisco had some, you could get up to so many licenses, but of course they require you to have, to be running their platform in order to do it. I think WatchGuard had some stuff too, as far as like offering for free, but it is something to, plan for the future and employ, and whatever's chosen. We use WatchGuard ourselves. Use that and plan for it in the future. And I think a lot of businesses after this COVID-19 are like, hey, like this working from home thing's actually really working for our organization. This might be something that we might want to do. But again, just like plan and invest some money and going forward with that.
Yeah, and on that, to follow up on that, even some of your home security type vendors like Norton, Symantec, McAfee, for example, now offers a VPN as well. And so, there's a lot of different options out there. And I agree with Adam. You have to use some caution. Free is, I'm always suspicious of free. It's like, why is it free? And for how long, and why are they offering it for free? What is that? What kind of business model is that where they can offer it for free? So I always am a little suspicious, but then again, I've been doing cybersecurity for over 20 years, so I'm a little bit suspicious by nature anyway. So I always, suggest, checking out, get recommendations, and see what's out there, and see what really fits your needs and what you a lot of times if your gut is telling you that you have some questions about this, your gut may be right. I always recommend going with known reputable vendors because they want to be around. They have good support, and it's just a lot of the free ones. I quite frankly, particularly right now, the amount of free ones that are popping up, don't know anything about them, where they're out of, who's running it, what's behind it. So I'm always a little suspicious of those, and would recommend, particularly right now, going with a more reputable vendor that's been around for a while.
Great. That makes sense. Thank you. We have two more questions here. One is, any advice for those folks that are doing mobile deposits?
Mobile deposits of, for example, payroll, etc. I'm presuming that's
yeah,
what,
this is a follow-up from that first question, that they have employees working from home and they need some security. So you mentioned that you didn't know exactly what they were doing. So they're doing mainly mobile deposits. Is there any thought or advice we could give them?
Yeah, I would definitely work with your financial institution and understand, because a lot of the financial institutions will provide tools and resources for you to do mobile deposits, because they want to ensure that you're doing it securely and safely as well. So I would recommend checking with that financial institution on recommendations they have. I have seen some cases where you may be using one application to do some mobile deposits, and for some reason that bank doesn't work well with them. And a lot of times you find that's because that bank has seen issues with that particular application or vendor that that you're referring, that you may be using for mobile transactions. So I always recommend you first start with your financial institution that you're trying to do those transactions with, and see what their recommendations are, and go from there.
I guess the one thing I'd add is if you have folks at home handling paper checks as financial instruments, I would maybe go on Amazon and send them a cross-cut shredder to go with their new job role at home. Just because what we don't want to do is we don't end up with a bunch of checks sitting around a house somewhere, or they get filed or kid grabs them or whatever.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you. One final question here. This one is about cybersecurity insurance. How should we approach cybersecurity insurance? How important is it? We're a hard goods consumer e-commerce company with a team of 10.
Yeah, I can answer that because I actually do a lot with insurance companies, and we actually have programs that we've built, that insurance companies have requested that we built. So one of the things I recommend is you have some sort of regular cybersecurity risk assessment. Having that, because that will help you. That'll help you identify any threats, risks, and vulnerabilities to your environment so you know what it is that you need to address. What needs to be fixed, patched, etc. And then most vendors that do that type of work, including Verizon, will provide you letters. We actually even offer a Verizon security certification for our customers on our programs that achieve certain levels of security compliance. But we'll also provide a letter to your insurance vendor that says you are on these programs, you are getting these types of assessments done on a regular basis, and that will help you with your insurance provider and will generally get you a much lower premium because you are showing and demonstrating that you are getting regularly assessed to ensure that your infrastructure and your employees are kept safe and secure.
Yeah, Mike answered that really well. It's all about managing risk, and you have to have some sort of risk assessment, and that flags up there really high. So as far as importance, in 2020, it's up there. If you get a hard breach, it could definitely close the door on a company if it's like, this is going to take $1 million to get out of this, right? And with the risk assessment, you're also looking at what type of technologies and systems you have in place to recover from it as well.
Yeah, in the event of a breach, that's one of the first things an insurance company is going to ask is what security controls do you have in place and how frequently are they validated? So by having those regular assessments done, that answers that question and demonstrates that you are properly managing your risk, at least as best as you can with the resources available. But doing nothing is a recipe for disaster. Every organization, regardless of size, should have a third-party assessment done on some frequency, and depending upon your business, the size of your business, et cetera, will help determine just how frequently you need to do something. But once a year is the absolute minimum. We have programs that are actually even weekly or monthly, and others that are semi-annual, quarterly, and annual. So we have a wide variety, and most vendors do. They have a wide variety of packages or services to meet various different size industries, regardless of what market or vertical you're in. Just about every vendor has a wide variety of options to choose from.
Great. Thank you. I think that covers all of our questions and our time together. So once again, thank you very much to Mike Kimiecik with Verizon, Adam Torgerson with Compudyne, and Trent Hein with Rule 4. Also remember, we have our COVID-19 community and business resources page available at boulderchamber.com/COVID-19. And also make sure to continue checking our upcoming Launch and Learn at Home series by going to boulderchamber.com/events. Again, my name is Maya Cordero. I'm the Director of Marketing and Events here at the Chamber. And thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the time today.